Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be working in this little file folder that I've started, putting my loose watercolor and acrylic paintings, drawings, whatever was loose. And we're going to do this cute little gnome. I haven't done a gnome in a while, so I thought he would be cute. And we're going to be using up some Geli prints. I have a kerbillion of them. How many of you have a pile of Geli prints and you're not sure what to do with them? So I'm going to put mine on this file folder. I love working in file folders because they're strong. They are really versatile as far as mixed media, um, gluing, and lots of heavy, any kind of heavy like texture paste, that type of thing. So I love working on with acrylic paint. You could probably use oils too. I don't know. I have never used oils, but I can't see why you wouldn't be able to use it as long as you put a coat of some kind of sealer of some sort. I want to go over the edge here. I do have a video on how I make my file folder journals if you're interested. This one I'm working with my Patreons and membership people on YouTube. And we'll be continuing this as we go. When I get my matte medium, this is what this is. This is actually gel matte medium. So it's thick, not as watered down as the fluid matte medium. I prefer it to be less watery, and that way it doesn't wrinkle as much when you're gluing stuff. Now you will get the odd wrinkle here and there, but for what I'm doing, this is just experimenting in my art journal or sketchbook, whatever you may have. And that's where I like to experiment with different products, maybe in trying out new methods, new techniques, new brushes. And you just want to have a safe place that you don't have to worry about messing up a page. So I'm going to take my heat gun and dry this up. Alright, so it's nice and dry now, and this is what we're going to be doing. This little gnome, ladybug gnome. There's lots of ladybugs out this time of year here. And lots of yellow jackets. Now you don't have to do it this cartoony. You can make it a little more realistic if you want. I leave that up to you. And I'm going to draw mine, and if you want you can trace this. I will leave a traceable for all of my members on YouTube and Patreon, and you will find that in the community page for your membership in YouTube or on Patreon. And it's for all members. I'm just going to get a pen here, or a pencil. Okay. It's just a little cheap Papermate 0.7 millimeter pencil, and I'm just going to put it over here for now. Let's see how we want to place this. So the shape is kind of egg-shaped, basically. So, and then his hat, if you measure the egg shape, it's about like that. His hat is almost the same size as his body. So we'll put, let's see, we'll have the, I think I'm going to have the egg shape right here, kind of in the center. Okay. And then his little hat and his legs. So his legs are basically just two lines, and then his little shoes stick out the side here. He's got fairly big shoes, so they're kind of touching in the center, like that. This is kind of hard to see. Let's use a darker pencil here if we can find one. Okay. So his body is going to go like this. And then his legs come down like this. And he's got these great big shoes, like that. And then his hat kind of comes over his shoulder a little bit, like this. That's the rim of his hat. And then it's wrinkly. So we want to show those wrinkles. And then again, more wrinkles, wonky shape, like that. And we have these little holes here where the antennae come out of, like that. And then his nose is right here. And then his beard kind of just comes almost halfway down his body. So there's his beard right there. And then his arms are just inside the shell here. And they're just very simple, representing your hands, just kind of like an oval. It's nothing crazy. And then just curved lines like that. And then a little bit more of that beard below that. And then his little shell, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. The shell comes out slightly, like that. Okay. And then you have the bees and whatnot. And then the flower he's standing on has, it's a daisy, and you're seeing it from the side basically. So the flowers will come down, the petals will come down more longer in the front, because yeah, that's what's facing you. And we'll overlap a few. And then as you go around, you get a little bit shorter. You don't see the whole thing. And then you get really short as you go into the back here. Just suggestion of petal. Okay, and then the little bumps that are in the top of the petal. So then we can start painting. So there's what it looks like. Like I said, you can paint this if you want. Now, I have a little bit of gesso inside this container because I was refilling my container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this is a Filbert. See how it's rounded? And this is a number 6. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint in, just give it a rough base coat of where the lightest areas would be. So his beard. And this will help with coverage as far as your lighter colors that you're going to put on, like the white and the skin tone, and yellow is another one that is hard to cover because it's usually transparent unless you can find some primary yellow. That's about the most opaque yellow I have found. I don't have any of that right now. I have some on order, but I haven't got it right now. I'm going to put a little flower up there, so I'm just going to put a dab. And then right on his hat here, it's white with black polka dots. And we can paint that. Not too worried about that. We can put some on our petals here, so they're a little easier to get a good coat of white on. We could also use collage in this. You could stamp. If you have bee stamps, you can use those. And then color them in after you've stamped them, if you don't want to draw them. As you can see, I'm not too worried about how much I'm covering. I can even leave some of this thick paint because that'll actually help give it some texture, which is kind of cool. I like texture in mixed media. And we'll be separating these anyways with once we get the painting on. You could either put your shadows in, or you could do it like it shows in the picture where it's outlined with black. I'm going to put a little bit more in there, so I know that's going to be a tough one to cover because of the opacity of the yellow. And let's want that to dry a little quicker. So we'll take some of that excess, just move it around. And we'll do the details once this is dry and we have a good layer on. But don't worry too much about how it's looking right now. This is just a blocking in of your painting. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. So let's give that a dry, and then we'll continue with the next step. Alright, good and dry, and now we'll get some paint so we can get this started. So we're going to need some white, some yellow, and some, if you have yellow ochre or raw sienna, we can mix some. And we need some red and black. That's about it. So get your paints together and we'll start in a minute. Alright, so we have, I'm going to do mine with craft paint. You can use whatever you have. I want to use these up because they're getting old. And let's see, black, green. I'm going to use a little bit of black gesso for my black. Just going to put it right there. And what else? I think that's it for now. Okay, so we're going to start off with doing the white again. And I'm going to use the same brush. You can use whatever brush you feel comfortable with. But don't use too big a brush. So this is the white. Just going to put this over here. So I want to cover all of the white area, and then we'll put in the highlights and shadows. Now I know where the nose is, so I'm not too worried about covering that area. Another brush that works really well is an angled flat. If you're looking for the right types of brushes, try those. They're very comfortable. You can use them on their side or on the flat. And when it has an angle on it, you can use the point also. Now this Filbert that I'm using right now, it's great for flowers because of the rounded edge. So when you're doing petals, it doesn't have a hard edge to it. As you can see, I'm using it on its side and it's flat. And I'm not worried about having a little bit of texture as far as brush strokes, because that actually helps me with the look of the hair, because it makes it look more patterned as far as lights and darks that you would see in hair. So now I was stroking it in the direction the hair would be growing, though. That's the only thing, is keep that in mind, because then it looks more natural if you do leave strokes in your paint. I'm just gonna do the petals, and we will come back in and put in some shadows in these and even highlight. This is Magnolia White, it's called, so it's a little bit on the yellow side, slightly. There are different types of whites. So I'm kind of doing another coat, base coat really, because the gesso did help, but it still didn't give it a completely opaque um, coat. So you do need to come in, and that goes with any type of paint. A lot of times when you're going over top of an already painted surface, especially if it's a different color and you're using white or yellow, you will see through it. Now I am going to go back with Posca pens also, and probably put in a lot of the line work with the Posca pen. I do like that in this particular style of a gnome. You don't have to if you don't like that look. That's the nice thing about having a reference photos. It's strictly that. It's a reference of what maybe you like the colors or the composition of the uh, piece, or um, the style of painting. So it doesn't have to be done in exact same way all the way around. Could be just the colors you like. But just having that to go by is a big help. Okay. So it doesn't look like much right now. Don't worry about it. We have ugly stages. All right. Now the red, a lot of reds are actually very transparent. So if you want a really bright red, I would suggest giving your area a coat of this white also. Now this pencil that I used is actually moving, so it must have been a water soluble pencil. It's kind of giving me a dirty look to the paint, but this will seal it, so I'm not too worried about it. And some will move on you, so you kind of have to know your pencils that you're using. Okay, that's good. All right, so let's see. I can go in with the black probably. I think I'm going to go in with use my, do I have one out here? Just looking for my angled brush. There's one. So this is an angled. So I'm just using the black gesso. And you can, black gesso is great, because it's very, very opaque. I'll use the tip. Ah. And then the little hat. That. I'll just bring it out a little bit there. And his sleeves. And we'll put in the little whiskers over top of this, so don't worry too much about all the little hairs yet. This is a very, very simple gnome. Cute. This would make a really cute card for somebody if you want. Little gardening gnome. And then this little body here, right in here. We can put that hair in for the beard once this is dry. And then his little leggings too that have white polka dots. We'll just do the black first. Like that. And it does have little straps on his shoes. And we can put those on just like that. Okay. See how quick they comes together? They're so cute. Okay. Make sure that's dry. You don't want to try and paint over a semi-dry because you'll lift it. Now let's take some of that red and now we can go back over it and it'll be nice and bright. So if you tried going over that with the background as it is, it would have shown green. Okay, just a little bit there. I think I'm going to bring it down just a bit more like this. Now you can take little bees, make them yourself if you want, or you can use a stamp. I'm going to put a little red shoes on them. And he's got that little thing's a little different, but that's okay. You can always go back and redo it if you don't like it. Just cover it with gesso. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Like that. And maybe bring it to the back here. That. He's cute. Okay, let's do the little nose. So the nose is peachy color, so we can take some of that red, a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, and some white. And the more white you use, the lighter the peach color. And little hands here would be that color. You can always go back with the black, touch up things. And then his little nose, I think I want to get a little bit of a, let's see, a round brush here, just so that it's a little easier. And his little nose, it's actually pretty big. So you can make yours as big as you want. Try and make it as round as possible. He's cute. And then the hat actually goes around his nose a little bit, so you can actually, don't put too much water on your brush. So right around, bring it down around his nose. Looks a little bit cuter. Like that. Right, so let's let that dry. Actually, let's put that flower on. It's a red flower, so just a bunch of little petals. And then we can always put a center in later. Like that. Okay, and while that's drying, I think I'm going to get that the angled brush, and I'm going to paint the flower in, and I want to paint it in the yellow, just as is. Actually, that's kind of bright. I'm going to add a little bit of black to that. Ooh, that black's so strong. Wow. Let's try that again. I just wanted it dulled down. I didn't want it as bright. So you can either add purple, just a smidgen of black, Brown would be another thing if you have brown. And I want it kind of bumpy around the edge. You can always fix your red up if you go over the shoes. Like that. Want it a little bit lumpy looking, so to speak. Not as complete circle. And you could actually take some of that and go past those petals. Let's take a little bit of just a bit like that. Okay, so it looks like the petals are coming not from underneath but the side. All right. Now I'm going to take some more of that white and I'm going to brighten some of those areas. I want it fairly opaque, so I'm not seeing that background, that green background through. So you may have to do this a few times. Don't worry too much. If you leave a little bit of streaking, that's fine, but we don't want to be able to clearly see the background. And then we'll put a little bit of shadows in. Just want a little bit of this covered up. I think I'm going to add a little bit of petal there, because that kind of looked funny. There. Put a little bit of yellow there. That's fine. Okay. So we'll let that dry. And let's give it a shot of heat and dry that up. All right. So now I'm going to take my, this is Expressions Robert Simmons Round. And I'm going to take some of this white and just a dab of black. See how small that is? Because it is super powerful. So this is the Golden's Black Gesso. Super powerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this light gray for doing some of the shadows. So I'm just going to come inside here. So we'd have a little bit of this gray from the inside of the petal, just spraying outwards. Just a bit. This one here. And the back one is going to be a little bit on the gray side because of the shadow cast from him. And maybe a little bit on the very bottoms here for now. And if you have some that are overlapping each other, right where it overlaps, you can put a little smidge of gray where it's overlapping. You'll have to decide which which is overlapping what. Okay. Now these are tilted downwards, so they would have a little bit of a different color on the bottoms because of that. I'm just going to add a little bit there. Okay. Now we can use the same gray, maybe even just a tad darker. And now we could do the beard, and just from the nose or underneath the hat would have a bit of that color. And also right underneath his nose, little short strokes. And then from the bottom up on the beard, just a few, not a lot, but mostly around the sides. And the same for his hands here, right under here. There'd be a shadow. Remember, it's hair, so depending on how you want it curled, be a little bit of a shadow where his shell is there. Okay. And with the flower now, I think what I want to do, so I'm going to get the angled brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of red to that mix we did, just a bit. Maybe a little more white, some water on my brush. I wanted a different color and just a slight touch of black. Change it up. And just around the edge here, it's going to be darker. That's the shadow of the shape of the flower head. So it'd be darker. And between his legs here too would be a little bit darker. I think I'm going to add a little bit more black. That. And just right there between his legs. Okay. Let that dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to put a little bit of white on this hat again, just to brighten it up. We want to add a little bit of shadows, but if it's got too much background showing through, it might not register. So that gray we made up, make up a little bit more. And what we're going to do is just around the side here, I'm going to just swift it out. Like that. And then there's a little wrinkle on his hat. Like that. little bit more in there because that would be fairly dark. Looks pretty good. I'm going to take a little bit of that black and darken it even more. And just from the centers, I'm going to put a little bit more stripes, kind of stripes. The petals have kind of ridges on them, and therefore you'll see a little bit of a highlight and shadow. Remember, this one is a little bit darker because of being on the back of that guy. I'm going to put a little bit on here, just showing that little bit of a shadow. And yeah, that's pretty good. Right, he's looking good. Now I'm going to take some more black with my round, and I'm going to make some circles on his shell. So I want some that are half circles, some are that are full. I'm not sure how many a ladybug is supposed to have, but if you want to look it up, you want to see if they're supposed to be round or maybe they're oval shaped. I don't know. This is all I got. I don't have a reference of a real ladybug, but maybe, I don't know. If you want to be that accurate, that's good. And then I'm just gonna fill it in. Very simple. I think I'm gonna put one more in here. Like that. It's cute. All right. And then also his little hat has dots. So there's big ones and there's little ones. So you can make them however you want. And then his little leggings have white ones. Now you could do this with Posca too, if you wanted to. Let's see how that. It's not bad. Cover's pretty good. So you make little ones and big ones. That's cute. And then the little bumps on the top of the flower. So I'm just going to put some white with this, yellow, just so that it's a little bit more opaque. And then we can make bumps. So same thing, basically just a bunch of circles, different sizes. There's a bunch of them. Make some big, some small. I've got a little bit of white in my brush, so that's good too. Each one's a little different. Like that. Some are sticking over the edge of the flower. He's cute. What else do we have to do? Now let's do, if you have a Posca pen, I have a black one here. I'm going to put his little antennas in. Actually, he has a little area where they come out of. Like that. And I'm going to make this a little bit wider. That. And that. You can bring some of this in. And around his hand here. Like that. And around his nose. Like that. I'm going to make this antennas a little bit thicker. And around the edge of his shoes on the inside. Like that. And what else? We can actually put a little bit of like this along the side. And in here. Like that. And then if you have a white Posca, you can do the highlights with the white Posca too. Shake that a little bit more. Okay, so we'd have little white areas around his hat. And I'm going to put a little bit in the top of his hat too. And then around his cuffs of his that. And then I'm going to put some of this around the beard, just to make it a little bit more fuzzy. I like fuzzy. I think it looks cute. And maybe a little crazy hairs coming out. That. Okay. And then, oh, his antennas are white inside. That. And a little bit of a glow in there, like that. And on his hand, we'll have a little bit of a highlight on his hand there. Make sure you're not getting too much black on your white pen. I want to put a few little in the shoe area. Let's see. I think on the top of his nose too. That. And then in here, maybe. Fill this in like that. That's cute. All right. And now we can finish up this flower here. Let's put a few little doodads. So let's put some of these shadows in. Make sure you just put them in basically the same direction as all the rest. Don't switch up the direction or it'll look funny. So they're all going on the right side. That. Okay. And you could actually do the same along the flowers if you want. You don't have to, but if you want. I like this look. Kind of scribbly. It's cute. Just adds a little something. Like that. Just like that. Okay. I like it. Okay, so the only thing left to do is the little bees. So what we can do is take, where is it? Take some of that white and yellow. So you got a fairly opaque consistency. Maybe a little bit of red in it just to change up so it's not so bright green yellow. And then we can add some bees. So I'm just going to plop so you can add as many as you want. And then let's dry that. I just finished the bees without you. So I just made the black part with a Posca. Now what you can do is make them a little bit more interesting by adding a little bit of, if you have it, some sparkly type of paint. I don't know if I have any. I know I have some watercolor, but I don't know if it'll go on or not. Well, let's try it. You can always try it, see what happens. Um, so I have some H2Os here. And we could... Maybe I will use... Oh, I've got gold here. Let's see. You could also use... I know some of you have the craft paints, the dragon... What is it called? The real sparkly... Just add a little bit. Let's see what happens. Just a bit of shimmer. Or if you have stickles, would be another thing you could use. I know everybody had stickles for a while there. So let's try that and see if it stays on or not. Awesome, it worked. So I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you'll give it a try. And don't forget to download the Traceable, and we'll see you next time. Have a fantastic day, everyone.